Sehr gut. Sehr gut.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No. Ugh. You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too! Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as... well, as Hitler. Listen, what I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews. Oh.
So, in the future, you also do not like the Jews?
Well, no. But we don't believe in segregating all the races like you do. I mean, except for, like, graduation ceremonies. In dorms. And hiring practices. Oh, and admissions policies. That sort of thing.
I, too, am a fan of the segregation. I'm sorry, I have to ask, is this a real firearm or is this some kind of toy for kids?
It's a flare gun. I'm trying not to support America's toxic gun culture. I'm a firm believer in gun control.
Gun control! This was one of my ideas, too. Ban them from the undesirables. Yes, look here. Oh, and your shirt. This is an organization founded by Margaret Sanger. Yes?
Wait, you know about Margaret Sanger?
Jawohl, of course. Oh, she's such a lovely person.
No. She's a fighter for reproductive rights, for women's empowerment,
and the eradication of undesirable populations by means of eugenics. Brilliant lady, very inspiring. I must use some of her ideas in our socialized healthcare system.
Socialized healthcare? That's not your thing. That's our thing.
No, it's very much my thing. Did you know that Nazi means National Socialist German Workers' Party? Nazi is just more catchy. Nazi. Just rolls off the tongue.
No. This can't be true. This has to be some sort of mistake. We are nothing alike. You're Adolf Hitler, evil right-wing fascist dictator, and I'm a feminist restorative justice advocate. And a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian? Me too!
Okay, I am so confused right now. I came here with a clear goal in mind to kill the most evil man to have ever lived. Besides Ronald Reagan. But now that I'm meeting you in person, you're not at all what I thought you were. And your painting is actually really good. What do you call it?
I call it Ein Reich ohne Juden.
Wow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome to The Crap, Culture, Race, and American Politics. This is part 2 of an ongoing series. I just want to remind you, the first one was psychological warfare. Can CIA or deep state mind games get you to betray your country? This episode is part 2 of psychological warfare. It's called the noise doctrine and the hero-victim binary. You're going to want to pay attention because this is extremely compelling information. I'm telling you that more warfare is coming out in 2025 regarding the midterms that are going to be coming up. I'll remind you of that rig. You know, Barack Obama said to be the Messiah of the Democrat Party. When he first ran, he got 69 million votes. His second term, supposedly 65 million votes. Then Hillary ran against Donald J. Trump, lost, but she had 65 million votes. And then all of a sudden we had this 2020 fiasco of Joe Biden with 81 million votes, which nobody believes and they can't prove. And then you had Kamala roll in against Trump at 68 million votes. Even that tries to tell you that Kamala was as popular as Obama, but it's crap. But there's something more nefarious going on. That is, while you've been sleeping over this past year, they've been adding more votes to Kamala. You see that red line? She's almost up there with Biden. In fact, mid-year, they had her up to about 74 million in change. Now she's over 75 million. Yep, they just added another 224, 226 million. This is why, folks, we want to encourage you to participate in saving the forensic evidence. These are important archives, folks, exceptionally important archives, not only for the courts. Here's a code up in the corner if you want to scan it to go there, and God bless everybody helping with it. But this is where the full forensic audit, which is the only surviving evidence, the only real prosecutable evidence, is stored to keep it in absolute chain of custody, not only for court cases that are coming, issues coming with the investigation that's going on right now for President Trump, and more importantly for, maybe the Supreme Court. Last but not least, we will preserve this evidence and then make sure it gets to the Donald Trump library so future historians can actually recreate in real time what really happened and do more research. Please go to our Give, Send, Go. It's just called Save the Evidence 2020. Do not let the system wear it down to make sure this disappears, because that's what they will do, folks. It's all part of the con. Also, today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Please go to jovanlovesgold.com. Pay particular attention if you have a 401k, an IRA, or a retirement savings account, because the big switch is going to come. We're going to be going digital. Many have worried for a very long time there's going to be a deep discount. Imagine every dollar you have, and somehow the government gets to keep 34 cents of each dollar. That's the highest number I've heard, just because of what it costs to go digital. You've got to get yourself educated, folks. I'm telling you it's coming. I've told you this for a long time. I've told you many things for a long time. I've been totally transparent. Look, go to jovanlovesgold.com with my fine partners at Goldco. Request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. Don't get left behind. And by the way, you might qualify to get up to $10,000 in free silver. I've got another one for you. It's that time. You asked us to bring it back, and we did. And if you're a big prepper or homesteader, or you just want to kind of make sure you have some CYA, well, we've brought back our incredible offer with the fine folks at Harvest Right. Now, what I have is I did an article. You can see the URL on the website, qr.net/save big now. That is case sensitive, or you can scan the code. But at the same time, I provided for you over on my Substack. You'll see it in the link I just put on the screen. There are people that have been getting these amazing freeze dryers and turning it into a business, particularly in the area of dog treats. I know that sounds weird, but I did an article for you. You can actually find it. over at my Substack. Just read the article. It's people are finding a way to make this pay off for them. It's actually pretty cool. Here's a code if you want to scan it. Now, one more time. The first part in this series was called Psychological Warfare. Can the CIA or Deep State, mind games that they do, get you to betray your country? Part 2, which we're going to cover in this program, is what's called the noise doctrine and the hero-villain binary. I've always told you, in order to make you the smartest patriot in the room, you have to understand how the system does it to us. Most people swear they would never betray their country. In today's program, you're not only going to understand quite a bit more, there's a very good chance you're going to become very angry, because what happens is once your eyes see it, it cannot undo it. It is possible to undo when your mind finally cracks open and you get that crap out of your cranium and you see it. So please share this program right now. Like, share, subscribe, follow, make sure you do it. I'm going to give you a little extra time because out of this whole multi-part series, this one's probably going to be the most revealing to what happened to your family and friends and some of the belief systems they currently hold. I know that's hard. Anyway, before we get started, I want to share something with you that come from our fine friends over at Cowboy Logic. Make sure on Twitter, Rumble, Getter, etc., you follow Cowboy Logic. Here is some seriously applied logic in the form of a new music video educational release. Enjoy.
In the dark, mask on, guns drawn, how's that feel? Flashbang mornings, kids screaming, dogs shot in the yard, parade in the park, turned to gulag, now you play the cards. Tear gas, ghosts are choking in the marble halls, your insurrection lie while the real coup crawls. Shackle like terrorists for a selfie and a prayer, while the real traitors sip champagne upstairs. Can you hear the echo in the concrete walls? 1,500 heartbeats, we refuse to fall. On the indictment, still wet with your blood. Judges on payroll, gavels banging like a flood. Solitary key, just 23-hour black. They want us to crack, but we breathe through the crack. Let us till my daughter smoke past the gods. Tell mommy I'm innocent, carved in the yard. You burn the flag of freedom on a global stage. We'll torture narrative in a white hot rage. Can you feel the tremor in the prison yard ground? 1,500 souls still making Ray-ups on payroll, still walking free, what a play. Grandpa and grandma zip tied on the floor, while BLM tore cities, yo, beg for more. Pelosi's laptop lost, the footage stays sealed. Every lie you stack is a blade we wield. You built the gallows, we'll hang your decree. From C to B, our face breaks free. Can you taste the iron in the air tonight? 1,500 fists ready for the fight. Ready for the fight. Still there, though the world turned its back. 1,500 ghosts in the aftermath. They can lock the doors, they can silence the song, but the fire in our hearts keeps burning on. Still though the world turned its back. 1,500 ghosts in the aftermath. They can lock the doors, they can silence the song, but the fire in our hearts keeps burning on. Birthday candles blown by a collect call ring. Daddy can't come home is the song they sing. Mom's on food stamps, houses foreclosed in the night. Kids ask the mirror, was daddy wrong or right? You stole first steps, first games, first I love you. Turned family photos into evidence for the crew. Every bedtime story now ends with the cage. Your scalpel cut deep, we bleed rage. If you hear the children crying daddy's name, can you hear the children crying mommy's name? Can you hear the children crying our names? Can you hear the children? Can you hear the children? Still there, though the world turned its back. 1,500 ghosts in the aftermath. They can lock the doors, they can silence the song, but the fire in our hearts keeps burning on. Still there, raise your fist to the sky. 1,500 voices will never die. From the cells to cell block C to B, you can hear the battle cry. Still there. Still there.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, here we go. I hope you shared the program. This is part two. How it works. It's a multi-part presentation of psychological warfare. And in this episode, I'm going to teach you some of the elements that it takes to be successful. And the two elements are called the noise doctrine and the hero-villain binary. When I give these to you, take notes. When I give these to you, you're going to see a veil drop from your eyes. You've probably been thinking some things anyway, but it's going to become very solidified for you. By the way, in regards to Don Nguyen, who most people don't know is an accomplished composer, musician, incredible, lyrics credits in the industry who did that for the folks at J6. I want to let you know that if you were to go back in time, you would have found me in December of 2020 telling you, whatever you do, do not go to January 6th to celebrate President Trump. It's a trap. It's a setup. I told you well in advance. I told you it's going to be a mess. What I would like to be remembered for in life, if anything, is just being truthful and transparent. I want to show you a piece that this is just right after January 6th, where I'm telling people what was going on behind the scenes at the Arizona audit and the battle that we were fighting. This only put me more on the radar of hate from the politicians and stuff there. But truth is paramount in everything. Okay, guys, let me tell you how this battle for ballots comes down in the state of Arizona. And so Arizona knows that the only way to do this is with total transparency in Maricopa County. Now, this is a process where they have tried their damnedest to not comply with the subpoena, even going to, well, we'll let you inspect 2 machines. They pick the machines. We'll give over a few digital ballots. They pick the ballots. We'll let you look at some mail-ins. They pick a few of them. So it's all just a totally upside-down system. And so they're pushing very hard to have it be their auditors which audit it, which you can't work. That just won't work at all. We'd have total absolute transparency. And you got about 2.2 million ballots that really need to be done and tested from top to bottom, because this must be solved once and for all. So now here's the latest battle. The latest battle is, even when you have a state and a legislature that has a surplus budget, the manpower on this takes time, people, you got to do it. Machines, the whole bit. Get on the ground. You got to scan them all in, make it all happen. They don't even necessarily want to have a budget or do it. So one of the ways they can kind of disqualify this is say, well, that's too expensive and we don't want to do that. And so we must use our auditors. This is what you have to scream about, because now they're going to bitch about the manpower costs getting on the ground, basically hand feeding and scanning in 2.2 million ballots getting this done. Do not let them get away with this. The states can do this. They have the budgets for it. It's already for it. These must be inspected top to bottom. These holes must be plugged. You've got to let Arizona know. You've got to do this the right way. You cannot cut corners. We must get answers. Go to it. Thanks. Of course, you made the difference in getting it done. It was you that forced the system. It's kind of like, think of it this way. The Epstein files and list, the government has possession of that evidence. And since they do, they keep it from you. This is the only, should we say, government issue or election issue where it is we the people that have the evidence. So we get to kind of wag the government and bring the evidence forth. Now, that was the first warning shot I said back then of the game they're going to play. They were going to play it with budgets. Of course, they did nothing. They finally appropriated, I don't know, some ridiculous number like $50,000 they'll contribute to it, which they never even did. And we got it done because you picked up the phone and screamed and you used your voice. 60,000 people blanked out the phone system in Arizona at the state capitol. Then once we get past that, they said, well, we're only going to give you a few. And then if you find something, then you'll go back and look at it later. You reacted again. So I'm wanting to want you to know it's you that makes the difference. And that's why I do this education. Now, in this program, I'm going to cover for you what is called the noise doctrine and the hero-villain binary. People swear on their truths they adopt. It's a nature of people. So many people, unfortunately, don't want the truth. But here's the deal. The system knows that if it can replace the truth and get you to adopt it, then you will go down in flames defending that truth, even when you're faced with the facts that it was all a con. That's the neuroprogramming that comes down with psychological warfare. And as I said in this particular episode, your mind, it's going to flip the lid on you as we go through it. So let's start with this. Now, this is step 3. The first program I covered the steps number 1 and step number 2. Okay. And just like I've always told you, you're the cure. You have to understand that. You're the only one that will fix this. Lawmakers will not fix it. It's we, the people, that fix it. But people swear their minds can't get hijacked. So, what is the noise doctrine and what is the hero-villain binary? So these are the 2 additional elements in this second episode, part 2. Now, what this is called is overload and confuse. This is how they do this is called the noise doctrine. Chances are you have never heard those words before, called the noise doctrine. And that's what I'm going to take you through. Now, in the noise doctrine, which is step 3, to conquer a people's minds, to have psychological warfare be successful. Remember, I told you, we've been in a war for a very long time. They just prosecute this war differently. The steps, which is step number 3 in the noise doctrine, goes like this. It's what happens when too many conflicting truths exist. Citizens give up discerning any. Now, you were told some truths about what happened, truths, in 2020. Put it in chat. Can you remember all of the various truths you were told? And there's even new truths rolling out now. Just kind of recount them in chat. Can you remember the various truths? Right? Don't worry, we've got this. President Trump will be back in office by August 16th. No, President Trump will be back in office by August 26th. Don't worry, Trump's still president, but he controls the military. The military's in charge. We have the PCAPs. Every single vote that was cast, lawmakers are going to come in and see it. They're going to be able to see their state. They're going to be able to see the vote swap. Oh, hey, look at that chart of the F, that insertion. Those are all switched votes. Hey, I infiltrated Antifa and I exposed a Democrat voting company. Their executive said, don't worry, we've taken care of Trump to make sure he didn't win. Patriots are in control. It's the machines. I figured it out. It's a mathematical polynomial, and here it is, and here's how it works. China flew in ballots from China. We found it on a flight, and they came in. There are watermarked ballots that send signals to satellites. We know where every ballot is. The Justice Department printed every ballot, and they're tracking everyone. Do you remember all of those? Okay. That is what's called conflicting truths. See, all of those were based on a truth you wanted to believe. And the market got flooded with them. The military's in control. Trump is in charge of everything. And people don't use logic, right? Well, that is how they rolled out this first part of Overload and Confused. It's called the noise doctrine. People sucked it up. Now, the reason they roll this out is because when you get overloaded with truths, citizens, naturally, that's you, the public at large, give up discerning any. Then it rolls into the next step. So you got so much coming at you. We've got it all. Lawmakers going to sit down and computer. The cyber experts from 5 countries are coming. They're going to be able to see their states. They're going to see all the PCAPs. They're going to see every vote that was changed. They're going to be able to take those PCAPs. They're going to take them back to their own cyber guys. They're going to basically tell their own cyber guys to verify this. And they're going to go, oh my God. Do you remember all those? Well, this is the second part. Now, all of this works in what's called orchestrated info floods. Now, what this means is there's appearances, interviews, contradictory reports, and fake leaks. And it needs an urgent controversy every week. There's always something every week. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's how phase 2 kicks in. Now, think about all of the people that kind of popped up out of nowhere that were kind of instant experts. This is where part 3 comes in. Now, the way this gets taken as truth, remember, it is about substituting your truth. In this vacuum, we had one person telling us the truth. That was Donald J. Trump. You see all these guys back here? That's fake media. That freaking MSM hated it. Hated it. But even in that swell, in that vacuum got filled. And not all by good. And so what happens in this scenario to pull this con off? You find a tremendous amount of people pop up and they portray a news image. Do you know what I mean when I say that? How many people popped up out of nowhere? We had one guy that was a convicted felon and rapper, but boom, all of a sudden I'm a journalist sitting at a news desk. I'm a Christian. How many different quote unquote news popped up? Do you remember? They just popped out of nowhere. Bang. But their window dressing looks like news. They claim to be journalists, right? They portray stuff like journalists. And in many times they'll call themselves a news network. Well, that is part of the image that has to be portrayed to pull this off. And so what they do is they copy news formats. Now, this gets so convoluted, even real journalists or people that care about journalistic integrity can't tell which breaking story is real anymore. There are people that popped into this movement. Now, remember, it takes both sides in psychological warfare. You must stop thinking about it in terms of Dems or liberals. We do not have 2 parties, folks. We haven't had 2 parties for a very long time. That's why they're continually approving budgets in the trillions. Even the very mantras, patriot this and that and whatever, will pop up. And it's still selective, curated news for an agenda. So the reason they flood these truths is they need citizens to give up. It's orchestrated in floods. You'll see all kinds of people, supposed experts, popping up in interviews You can't verify their background. And then every news week, every single week, there's a news story, a news story, a news story. And then what it does is it in many ways portrays the mainstream media you hate. Well, your news had to go somewhere. And so what happened is you get sucked over into this vacuum of people primarily copying news formats. One day they're a preacher. The next day they're a conservative blogger. Then the next day they're a tech CEO. And then the next day they're a journalist. You'll see these morphing identities all over the place. Now, the goal of that is where the people, even true journalists, even true researchers, can't tell which breaking story is new or real. Now, there's a reason for it, but now we're going to talk about the window dressing. It's very easy to copy a news format. It's very easy for somebody for themselves one day to package themselves as a rapper, and that doesn't work out for them. And the next day they're a conservative newscaster. It's all packaging. It's all window dressing. The number one hijack that occurred in 2020 to get people to buy in to the psychological warfare that was needed, okay? The number one disguise, what was it disguised as? Do you know? We want to take a hint in chat. What do you think most of them disguised themselves as? What do you think most of these quote unquote news readers, reporters, journalists, what did they disguise themselves as? Well, most of them poses or has positions as media delivering free speech. Now, this is really interesting. It's really interesting because you were told by President Trump, telling you the truth, see these guys back there? Fake news, fake news, fake news. He was telling you the news is fake. He was telling you the phenomenon behind the scene of Obama's changing of the Smith-Mundt Act. In that same vacuum where you cleaved from mainstream media, the psychological warfare jumped back in and clothed themselves in, well, we're going to deliver real news and truth where you can really do it free speech. However, if you did imbibe in that programming, you found out even they covered things you knew were not actually true. And they stayed away from facts as much as they could and basically fed you their own facts. Now, this was exceptionally prevalent. Most people never even realized that the hot swap happened. So you now get this new news. Now, most people don't even realize when you hear big names say stuff contradictory, right? You got the president of the United States, who you trust and should, saying we've got to get rid of mail-in ballots. That's on one hand. Over here, you have the GOP saying bank your ballot, which means early voting, drop boxing, and mail-in ballots. So how can you have the president of the United States trying to save the country, but the party saying bank your ballots? And what you don't realize is those people that promote that for the party are paid millions. And when you look at maybe a conservative thought leader, you know they're smart, but all of a sudden they're saying bank your ballot, using that same terminology, bank your ballot. When President Trump first came out, I admonished President Trump and I said, no, sir, that is the rig. It's just a rebranding of the words. And you saw even President Trump change and have to take a hard stance, no mail-in ballots. But the party pushed the narrative. And that's why you saw call them influencers, call them thought leaders, pushing bank the ballot because they're paid. They're paid. Just like any other mainstream media news organization. Now, at the same time these news organizations popped up, you got a whole new group, right, of experts. Yeah, those supposed news networks, it creates its own cast of or go-to experts. They start cultivating people, their own group of experts. You've never heard of most of these experts before. They come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, they're pontificating on, okay, well, this is how it should work, and this is what it is. Well, in this psychological warfare, the cultivating of a new group of go-to experts is paramount. They need to also hot swap the experts. Now, what happens in all of this messaging, remember, this is the noise part of it. The noise part of it. The goal is to overload and confuse. They've got to confuse you. There's so many experts coming at you. There's so many people they say are experts. There's so many people that tell you what to believe. What happens is public attention becomes exhausted. Yep. And apathy replaces outrage. I'm going to get to the outrage in a moment. But part of pulling this off, remember, in part one, I just broached the subject. I covered the first 2 points. Can the CIA or deep state mind games get you to betray your country? This is part two, where I'm covering 3 and 4, which is the noise doctrine and the hero-villain binary. Okay? So what happens is when they overload you, you start off being pissed. Think back. You were pissed. You were angry. And then what they do is they wear you out. They've got to wear you out. Because when they wear you out, you stop discerning, and then it turns to apathy. Now, there's another trigger in here that they're doing. They don't want to just wear you out. They want to force you to do one very important thing. Now, you understand in 2020, and still now, our country's polarized, right? It's like wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. Wearing a mask, you love mankind, you're great, you're wonderful. Not wearing a mask, you're a killer. You hate people. Want to cut off a little boy's Vienna sausage? Want to take a little girl's boobies and dress her up like a man? Well, you have one side says, hell no, that's mutilating children. The other side, you're transphobic. What the overlord needs to do is they need to ensure everyone chooses a side. Now, I want you to think out. I want you to think this one out. We'll put it in terms of the election. They force everyone to choose a position. It was rigged. It was stolen. It was the safest election ever. That's a fake con, even down to I don't give a crap. But the overlords in psychological warfare, one of the things they have to do in the noise doctrine is they need to get you to choose a side. They need to get you to choose a side. Remember that, because it plays into part 4 here, or excuse me, element 4 of this part 2. When you choose a side, you've immediately accepted the hyphen. You're either one side or other of the equation. And that's where the, divided we fall comes from. Now, how do they force people, even logical people, and I'm telling you, this is going to get progressively worse, so stay with me, because by the time I get to the short end of this, you're going to be pissed. What they do, pay attention, they create whistleblowers, experts, insiders, codifiers, vilifiers, whisperers, pop-ups, runabouts, speakers, influencers, scapegoats, and sacrificers. Have you ever wondered how somebody could be in the CIA, left the CIA, supposedly a patriot while patriots are getting blocked, but they're a CIA whistleblower, go on YouTube and have millions of followers? Have you ever asked yourself that simple question regarding all of this mess when they were scrubbing everybody with truth, but all of a sudden, I used to work for the CIA and I'm a whistleblower, and they have millions of followers on the very channels that were blocking everybody else? See, the system creates the whistleblowers. The system, and they kind of come out of nowhere. The system creates the experts they want you to pay attention to. No, it's a math expert, not a choir teacher. This is the expert you pay attention to. They create them. They create people you've never heard of. Well, I used to be this and this, and you can't verify any of it. You can't pick up the phone and verify if somebody was in the CIA or not. You understand that. You understand that. But somebody's going to come from the FBI, and I was with the FBI, I was this and that, and I'm going to tell you the real story of the FBI. That doesn't happen. You need to understand that. In many ways, that doesn't happen. You had CIA, quote unquote, former operatives telling you, yes, and it was the biggest CIA sting, and we had watermarks and telemetry in every ballot. We can see them by satellite. You remember all of that. Well, see, the system creates those people. And then they create the codifiers, the people that swear to God it's true, that have a little bit of credibility of some sort. Then they create the vilifiers. See, they need both sides. They create the vilifiers. That's the people that run out, and their part of the role is, the forensic audit in Arizona never happened. It was fake. It was a grift. Those are the vilifiers. Then you have the whisperers. Now, the whisperers are the ones that move around from event to event, people to people, and I think you should know this. Those are the whisperers. That's just to plant the rumor seed. And then you have what's called the pop-ups. By the way, this is right out of operational handbooks. The pop-ups, are you ever noticed how many people in these experts also popped up at 735 speaking engagements across the United States over a couple of years? Have you ever thought about that? See, people don't think about the magnitude of money that requires to get somebody zipped back and forth around the states. You never think about it. You just accept they're a patriot, they're a hero. No, these are the pop-ups and the runabouts and the speakers. They'll go around speaking at every single event you can imagine. It's kind of like the approved list of speakers. Now, the whisperers go around and basically, you shouldn't have this person. You shouldn't have this person. You shouldn't have this person. The vilifiers in social media drive that point home. What they do is then they pop in their pop-ups and runabouts and speakers. And then you have this actually executed by big influence. You're going to see more in a minute. But all of this needs scapegoats and sacrificers. Because people need heroes. Now, here's what I mean. All of this designs a single unifying enemy. That enemy is usually the traitor, the thief, the companies. And what they do is they push everything towards an emotional blur. They blend the nuances. Well, yeah, the election was stolen, but it's not really about the papers. It's because they swapped the votes. It's still the same exact topic. You understand that? It's still the same exact topic. Hands down. Same exact topic. The election's being broken. But the goal is to blend the nuances so it sounds very true to you, but the nuance has a specific purpose, and that is to get you 100% away from what the truth is. Now, here's what kicks in, and this one's probably the one that's going to kick you in the stomach the most. Because when you realize this was an operation, and you realize whether you or how many people, or for however long how you did it, or how many people still do it, you realize how nasty this psychological warfare is. Remember, part 1 is, can CIA deep state mind games get you to betray your country? This is part 2, the noise doctrine and the hero-villain binary. Each of them, I'm covering 2 modules with you. So now we're going to move to number 4. And this is the most important dynamic. The most important dynamic. The 4th key to making all of this psychological warfare work is they have to create what's called the hero-villain binary. Now, why is that important? I told you. The overlord must ensure that everybody chooses a side. In order for you to choose a side, in order for you to do that, you have to be given a synthetic hero-villain binary. Now, it's all supported, right? It's all supported by all these free speech, and here it is, etc. And they create their own experts, right? But the overlord ensures that everybody chooses a side. You must, in order for this to work, and you're about to see how it works, in order for this to work, you have to have their designated hero and their designated villain. Now, remember, I told you this for what, 6 years before it was revealed by Elon Musk and Doge that it was the government paying George Soros, USAID, to do what he did to us. It's because Soros agreed to be the villain. He profited well from it. He could give a rat's hoo-hoo of whether you think he's bad or not. He gets paid to do it. Now, that's what the psychological warfare does. It creates a hero-villain binary. Now, in this, you can't help but choose a side. So let me show you how it works. In the designing of this single unifying enemy, the thief or the traitor, or the companies where did it, they push that emotional nuance. And so in all of this, okay, they have to create that narrative that you buy into. Now, remember, they've already created all the whistleblowers, the experts, the codifiers, the whistlers, the pop-ups, and all that other stuff, right? What they have to do is it's all designed to create a deep emotional hook, a narrative that blur the nuance and recreate. Now, here's the sticker. Ready? The David and Goliath battle. Now, this is where it will get very near to home to you to understand how this is played out. They create the David and Goliath battle. See, that's the emotional hook. This is 100% operationally required. Let me state that again. They've got to give you heroes and villains. It will not work otherwise. So an operational requirement in order to be able to pull this off en masse is the whole story that's told to you, the whole narrative that's shared with you, the whole thing, the quote unquote new news and news media share with you, is they've got to tap into your sense of justice. Now, remember, justice is something completely different than truth. Most people, in many ways, kind of avoid the truth just because it hurts so damn bad. But there is a substitute, and that substitute is justice. Because then you can justify your actions, or you can justify the points in a lot of ways. Now, the way they do this in the David and Goliath mode, that's what we're talking about, is you have a small underdog working to defeat a giant system or oppressor. Now, what they do is they use very specific media strategists and propagandists to push this narrative. This is all by design. Remember, they create these people. They create their own cast of experts. Now, once they've established those, they use those people, which are just basically strategists and propagandists in a system they're paid, to emotionally recruit the audience. This is, and some people will say the left are the snowflakes. They're the ones that are feelings, don't like facts. It's human nature. They use different tactics on the left. They use different tactics on the right. It's all the same uniparty, okay? Now, what they have to do is they've got to emotionally recruit you into their plan. How does it work? See, what happens when they can emotionally recruit you? This psychology, and that's why it's psychological warfare, folks, this psychology directly bypasses logic. It directly bypasses logic, and it deep inside of you appeals to empathy, rebellion, and fairness. Now, humans, people, everyday people, naturally root for the David in this David and Goliath scenario. They root for him. You root for the hero, whether how they look or what they portray or whatever. You're naturally inclined to root. It's just true. It's themes of movies. It's themes of televisions, epics or sitcoms, rooting for the underdog. It's the way it is. People are wired this way. And so since you're naturally inclined, it's very biblical in nature, by the way, to root for the David, the audience, that means the population at large, all of you, they unconsciously align with the David, even if the story is distorted or false. See, this goes back to what I told you in the first one. It's all mind games to get you to betray your country. And you say, I will never support a narrative that's false, and I just wouldn't do that, and not at all. Well, folks, it occurred. It's why we set where we set today. It's why so many things are still going on, because the audience, that means you, the public, has unconsciously aligned with the perpetrator, David, even if the story is distorted or false. Now, here's the key. See, in this scenario, why they use, it's called the David and Goliath model, you actually tend to follow the David, but David is technically operating through Goliath. And so what happens is the David is executing the narrative that the Goliath has designed. In this case, the Goliath is CIA, deep state, the uniparty. They use these Davids to control the narrative. But the number one thing where you can tell they've adopted a David in this is that David, most certainly, almost every time, pose as the victim to gain sympathy. They're trying to ban me. They're trying to this. They're trying to take us off the air. They're trying to shut down my company. They need the David because in this David in this process, and the David must be continually victimized, sued, investigated. FBI took my phone. They need this because what happens is this is the tactic that turns scrutiny into support. Yes, you stop scrutinizing, and all of a sudden you see them a victim and go, oh my God, they're such a Christian woman. They're such a Christian man. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Now here's where it comes really nefarious. I'm telling you, this stuff runs deep. That's why I had to do it in a series and break this down so easy, right? Because people will say, CIA can't convince me to do anything. Yeah, they can. They can betray you. And in this part 2, which covers 2 parts of the doctrine, the 3 and 4 of the steps, noise doctrine and HERO-VILLIAN, right? These people have to be victimized. I was arrested. I was roughed up. I was beat up in an elevator. They took my phone. They sued me. They bombed my house, whatever the case may be. Because what they need you is they need you to choose a side. All of it's about choosing a side. In this side choosing, the most important thing that has to happen is the tactics they use turn you away from scrutiny and it turns you into support. Now, here's where it really gets nasty. See, once they've got you sold into this narrative, and you see this all the time, what they do is they supplant your feelings because they want the audience. You need to feel like David. You're fighting this fight with the David. We're courageous truth seekers battling censorship and tyranny. They give you that, just like they give you the evil surrogate, they give you the good surrogate. And you're going to side with the guy that the FBI was after him, or shutting down his business, or kicking out his employees, or robbing all the money, or whatever. They need you to feel like you're being courageous truth seekers battling censorship or tyranny, while the whole time they are herding you toward a manufactured belief. Now, people swear. People swear. They swear on their relationship with God or Jesus, either one. They swear. There's no way they could have been conned in this. They swear it. When the system follows these steps, they present to you that the David figure, it's intentionally cast, is a morally pure person. And they're oppressed. They're morally pure. They will always signal they are morally pure. They juxtapose Goliath at this standpoint, both of them are in on it, as greedy, arrogant, and evil. Now, in this juxtaposition, what they've done is now they've permanently erased the nuances. Black and white is erased because, see, what you've done, and you swear you wouldn't do it. I'm just about facts. I'm just about truth. Those are totally different words. Because what's happened is they have sunk their emotional hooks into you, moral hooks into you. You've adopted it, even when you will swear you don't. Now, they need this because that's the final thing that it actually permanently, through your lens as it's black and white. Well, he's fighting the bad guys. You don't care. You just want the machines. See, that's how many times did it happen where I'm telling people I don't give a rat's ass about the machines. Oh, see, you just want the machines. Here's what happens. When they get you to this point, they actually make you blind to truth. It's called the blind to truth hook. The blind to truth hook. See, once they can get you to emotionally identify with the David, those people who turn and just refuse the truth, well, I heard it was a grift, or it's not really real. Those people, because they're so far hooked in, they will defend the story fiercely. They will overlook contradictions, and they will, ready for this, distrust any evidence that challenges their hero. Let me read that again. They will distrust any evidence that challenges their hero. This is why the David versus Goliath frame is so effective in media psychological warfare. Because, see, it's the nail that drives everything home. Because even when you could be faced with the facts that something was a con, or somebody who supposedly had the truth ends up in court testifying, well, we never really had it, you'll still defend that person, because what happens? That's where the big bait and switch, and you don't even know it, has occurred. Sorry for the typo. This dynamic turns propaganda into a moral crusade. You're never going to say you were morally wrong. People don't want to go, I was blinded, I got sidetracked. You bought into the moral crusade. And once you believe you're fighting for the underdog, you permanently stop questioning who wrote the script. Can you see how this happens? This is why the system shuns truth. They're not worried about the truth. And many people think, well, they keep you away from the truth. No, look, they will substitute the truth. We have been, especially when it comes to these elections and what happened in 2020. See, the biggest con that played alongside the pandemic, and you got to put this together, folks. You absolutely know they planned out everything for the pandemic. You know it. You know the rat bastards did it. You freaking know it. You don't even contest that. You know they did it. But when you get over here, here's the truth of what happened in the elections. You think all these heroes just kind of rose up. And once you identify with the David Goliath tactic and you accept, well, that person's just persecuted and, oh my God, they're a great Christian or whatever. When you finally buy into that, you become completely blind when you're faced with things like court evidence that 100% prove it was false. And then it doesn't matter. Because, see, you don't begin fighting for the truth, do you? See, you bought into the narrative. You bought into this person was a Christian, godly, doing what's right, attacked, persecuted. And you bought into it. Now you can't turn back. And when you really should be wow, I gotta get the truth out. You do something different instead. You start defending the very David and Goliath system that won you over, because now you can't see it, and you start defending them. No, they're holy. They're Christians. They gave everything. And then you miss some really interesting nuances. You miss things like, how can somebody be sued for $1 billion? And Fox News paid $800 million, let's say. And these TV networks paid tens of millions of dollars. But then you find these really odd characters that were also sued for $1 billion plus. And it gets to court. You find out nothing's real. They never really had the proof, and they get a $100,000 fine. Or they get fined by the court $1,000 a day. And you think, man. But then they just quietly don't go after that or suspend it. So you never get the answers because they don't want you to have the answer. And a lot of these supposed arrests, supposed attacks, or orchestrated bullshit. Because how can you believe somebody's fighting for the system if the FBI didn't come and rough them up? They took my computers and my system and my phone. Wouldn't somebody like Kash Patel be handling it right over? Go, here you go, we got it for you, because they wouldn't give it back. You don't see those things. And the reason you don't see those things is because they never occurred in the first place. And so you are so overwhelmed as you get through this that you can even sit there and hear the person say, well, that's just what I thought. I don't really know. Or no witnesses come forward. They can't bring any witnesses. They can't bring any experts. Now, if you were looking at it through the right filter 5 years later, you can look at every claim and you can go back and audit the claim, and you now know every one of them were total bullshit. Because you can't audit them. You can't audit the people. You can't audit where they come from. You can't audit their credentials. You can't audit their claims. You can't audit the thing. We got 500,000 people in our organization. You can't audit anything. You can't audit anything. But see, it doesn't matter if you can't audit anything, because that was only part of the mechanism to get you to buy into the psychological warfare. And folks, this is how it works. People hate being told the truth. People hate it because the truth is so damn hard to ingest, to understand. They will totally turn away from the truth. Because see, now it's their own personal judgment that is being questioned. And very few people can say, I was freaking conned. I played into it. I was freaking conned. I believed the stuff. The biggest mistake that can be made in all of this is to think the system doesn't cover its bases, and it comes at you as Goliath, and it comes at you as David. It doesn't really care how you get there, because they must have everybody choose a side. And that's why these two modules, you needed to understand the noise doctrine and the hero-villain binary. You now know, folks, there's more to this series. The question is, what are you going to do about it to inoculate yourself against this perpetual con job?
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now.